Hello, humans, and welcome back to the Human Music Podcast. This is episode 44, Kelly Finn on how to be a VJ. Kelly's a talented VJ who's worked with artists like ill.Gates and Richie Hawten and has worked with festivals like Revibe Wellness Retreat and Movement. She's also turned her artistic passion into a career, getting an internship with Extended Reality Group. She talks about how she got into VJing, advice on tech solutions, and gives predictions about the future of both live and virtual music events. Near the end, she reveals she also wants to get into DJing, and we gave her our best advice and our funniest anecdotes on learning to be a DJ. Support our sponsors, Dojo TV, free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseiso. This episode was recorded live on Dojo TV. If you want to get on our lives and ask us questions to be on the podcast and get a shout out, hop on Dojo TV for free, get into the Discord chat, and ask away. Guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake of the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know. With guest practices, your first class is free. Finally, Gvngaroo Records music distribution, where you can get unlimited uploads for under $10. I release all my stuff through Gvngaroo. All right, let's get into that episode with Kelly the VJ. Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo! Human Music Podcast. I like it. All right, humans and also ninjas, what is up with you guys? We are here. We are not quite on time, but we made it. What's up? It's the Human Music Podcast live on Dojo TV. And we are absolutely blessed to have a special guest today, somebody that y'all, if you've been watching Dojo TV, have definitely seen her wonderful work. She is Kelly Finn, aka Kelly the VJ, and I want to give her a chance to introduce herself and let y'all know her superhero origin story. What's up, Kelly?
Hey, how's it going? What's up,
Going
Jesus?
great.
Honey, Tesco.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You know, we said I wanted to catch up, and then you asked me to be on the podcast, so I was like, even better.
Surprise!
Yeah. Might as well catch up on in a public forum, right? That makes sense.
No pressure.
Cheers
to that.
Cheers to that.
So yeah, start us off with like Luke would say, your superhero origin story, or just how you got into music, how you got into visuals, and the whole background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Detroit, and I really just started getting into the electronic music scene, found that the community and also just, the experiences were where I really wanted to be and what I really wanted to spend my time on. And the more I went into it and just was doing a lot of soul searching and came to the conclusion and was like, oh, I'm an artist. That's what I got to be doing with my path. And as time went on, I was starting to ask myself, well, what kind of art do I want to do? And I was really big into going to some of the bigger festivals. I was following Bass Nectar for a long time. And there was just this one moment where I saw the visuals and I was like, I want to do that. And ever since, it's really pushed me. And over time, the more I've learned, the more I've realized how much music and art really go together, and how the two things, it's such a synesthetic relationship, and music really generates art and art really generates music. And that's been something that's always really fascinated me and interested me. Being from Detroit, I have done a lot of work with a lot of different types of music. I really got started with a lot of techno and house music coming from Detroit. So I've had a lot of really great opportunities to VJ for people like Richie Hawten and VJ Movement, and have just a lot of really diverse experiences with music and come to appreciate a lot of different forms of music. And then I've also done a lot of work, especially in the year of 2020, with dubstep and bass music, which really are my roots of electronic music, and getting to work with some really awesome people there as well. And right now I recently started I recently started an internship with a Las Vegas-based technology company called Extended Reality Group. And so we're going to kind of be taking a lot of these like concepts to higher levels with different pieces of technology.
We are definitely going to have to dive into that. Fun fact to start us off as well. I credit all of the promo videos that you see come out of my social medias directly to you. We had a
I've
session,
noticed, and they look so good. They do.
They're still pretty average in my mind, but I guess that's the artist mindset, right? Back like maybe almost about a year ago now, like exactly
May, I think we were doing that.
Yeah, well, maybe 9 months, something like that. Summit? That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before that a little bit, but we basically had a little
stretch of time.
A little meeting where you kind of gave me the intro to some of the process of doing visuals, and I would agree. It's like it's such a rewarding art form to put music and visuals together. They're so inextricably linked, and especially when you have like a concept for what it feels like and what it should look like, it's really fun to put all that stuff together. So yeah, I guess getting a little bit started into visuals for you, like where did that enter your life? Was there someone that showed you the tools to use it? Or what was the entry point into doing visuals? I mean, obviously there has to be some steps in between getting started and being the VJ for Richie Hawten. That's a pretty big deal.
So we're talking after I had the moments of inspiration and wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I would say first, obviously, is starting. And I think it's just kind of like with music, starting is often the hardest part. And it was kind of like that experience where it was like, I keep wanting to say that I do want to do this, but I haven't done it yet. And that was just like a point for me where I was just like, I'm going to buy the MIDI controller and I'm going to buy Resolume and I'm going to make that initial investment. And then it was like, well, now I have to do it. Yeah. There's so many like parallels. So it's really fun to talk about with a group of producers such as yourself, just YouTube and finding how to do little things. And then it's like really, for me, it's been a lot about community and just connections with other people. It's such a niche art form, even as you go into more niche things, like the higher forms of creative technology that we're starting to do. But the community is a lot smaller than you think it is. And after a while, everyone knows everyone. So for me, it was a lot of just starting to reach out and just find other people who did it and asking people, how do you do this? Can you show me?
Yeah.
And so I have some really wonderful friends and mentors and teachers who just started showing me the way as I figured it out myself. And I really credit all of those people to that. And just, I want to pass that knowledge on because all we can do is help each other share the knowledge. Yeah,
absolutely. So when you're VJing for someone like Richie Hawten, what does that setup look like?
It can be a lot of different things. For me, I have the computer and I'm using Resolume. I might be using Touchdesigner, use a little synesthesia, the program that you like to use. I have one big MIDI controller. I use the Livid Ohm RGB. It has lots of buttons. And that's pretty much it. It's not sometimes as big of a setup as people make it out to be. I have gotten decently good at being portable. So by setup, do you mean like just hardware or do you mean beyond that?
Well, I guess, yeah. So like what do you have in front of you? Like, what do you actually, what buttons are you pressing? What are those buttons doing? Sure. That kind of thing. For someone like me,
a big part of it, it's almost kind of learning about music has actually really helped me become a better DJ. I'm learning about like the structure of music has really helped me a lot with that. And I'm a big planner when I really want to VJ very well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to things like Richie or movement and other like lots of techno and house, I usually prepare a lot of content where I have what are known as decks and I'm going from deck to deck. And when it comes to house music and techno where the beat is really running and it sounds more similar for longer periods of time, I'm in one deck that has 1, 2, 3 ideas, and all of those pieces of content or effects. And so our generations, they all work well together, so I can fade in and out of them and kind of introduce the ideas and bring them back, and then like add on effects and layering and things of that nature. And then I'm able to stay in one kind of feeling for a while because the music feels almost longer.
Yeah.
And then with dubstep or bass music and things like that, I'm a much more sequential person, which is where like learning about like music sequencing from the dojo has actually been very helpful. And I set up like vertical columns of my clips and I'm moving left to right, again having like 1 to 3 ideas in front of me, and then I'm doing a lot more structure of like intro, build, drop 2, out, and then so on. So it's kind of about like what kind of feeling I want to have when I'm doing it, like how do I best want to illustrate the music in front of me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what's up. You mentioned something earlier that I really liked, that, you know, you decided you want to do it, you could really feel it, and then to kind of anchor yourself in it, you went out and made sure you bought the gear. Like, well, no turning back now. That's kind of like the, you know, burning your boats moment on the opposite shore. Like, all right, well, here I am. This is what I do now. I've got all this gear. I can't waste it.
Exactly. And it's also like about the gear looking at you every day, and it's like, I can't do that to myself. I'll never live it down. I should probably learn how to use it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when it comes to like inspiration for doing VJ kind of stuff, I know in the producer world, it gets like very technical and nerdy, and like producers are always looking at each other for things like mix downs and sound design and all of these sort of like nitty gritty aspects. So like when it comes to visual kind of stuff, I guess, where do you pull inspiration from different artists, or is there like a certain vein within that, kind of like how there would be like a subgenre of music? Is there like a specific type of visual art form that you're more drawn to than others, or do you sort of orient that around like who's playing that night or like what type of show it is?
Definitely. So yeah, I guess I'll answer your last question first. For me, I definitely have great pride in planning a set for someone, and even though I have my content and my style and my things that I do, I like to make each set for each artist look individually theirs. So for me, while I do have certain elements and things that I do and things that I enjoy showing, I definitely tailor my content and tailor my sequences to really give that artist the feeling of who they are and who their music is. In terms of inspiration, I would say that we are as nerdy as the producers in almost every aspect. Getting really deep into the art form you learn so much technology and you learn so many softwares, and it kind of starts to be kind of like art school when you're with all of these other VJs or you see someone else's work and you're like, how? I definitely have a lot of inspirations that come from video content, and just like putting that like dose of reality into my work. And it's such like a powerful thing to have video content, and a lot of like human-based video content. I really love like having an impact in that way, and I feel like there isn't as much of that we see all the time. It's sometimes reserved for bigger productions and things of that nature and just different styles of music. So I like to take that and then see what I can do with it. I definitely take a lot of inspiration from lots of artists, both big and small, especially just like a lot of my friends and animators in the VJ community. I'm in a small group where we talk and show creations all the time, and it's just seeing other people do things. It's just really inspiring. I have several big inspirations, I would say, but and we can talk about like Android Jones, and we can talk about Data Grandma, and we can talk about Fractal Visions and all of these people, and Max Chang, and like all of these artists, and it kind of like all like blends together, and it becomes less about like a person or like their style and more about understanding what's possible. And then the more you know what's possible and learn how to do, like your own ideas expand. And then it starts to be like, what do I want to explore and become doing that.
Sweet.
Yes.
So it's kind of like real-time sampling in a sense, where you're just finding all this content and then like based off of the vibe of like, it seems like it's half planned and half sort of in the moment of what you're feeling and like
Oh yeah.
blending those.
Yeah, I would say it's like, it's when it comes to like live performance, it's one of the easiest ways to describe it to people is it's like DJing with video. It's really like you'll never really do the same thing twice unless you really like something, and it's like it's that flow state, and it's hard to understand sometimes how you did something, and you look back and you're like, I'll never be able to make that combination of colors and whatever do that again. I don't even know really what I was doing. It's like a flow that goes through you. And so, yeah, it is like a real time, like sampling, and, you know, like every VJ would use the same piece of content or effect differently, and seeing how that works out.
Yeah, you know, it's in my limited experience, what you just said sparked a thought for me. It's like generating the visual content is a lot like doing a mud pie. Like you're just like running through stuff and seeing what effects cause cool changes and what like ranges of certain sliders or buttons or whatever look cool. And then when you're like chopping that up and like creating like a piece of visual content, it's just like picking your favorite slice and putting it in here and then finding another slice that like works in context there. As far as the live aspect, I remember well, just in general, I'm always so impressed by the level of like coherency and consistency, like with the artist that a VJ is able to achieve. Like it always seems like the moments that matter like happen visually in a way that matters as well. And that's always really like impressed me. I like anytime something really cool happens at like a live show in that sense, I'm always like, I can't believe that there's someone like doing just as impressive of a visual set with the music as well. And like most people like don't even realize like that is actually occurring in real time. If you want to speak a little bit to kind of how in your experience those like how you plan those big moments, are you talking with the artist up front a lot about certain moments? And I'm sure it's different for like a touring DJ with a VJ that's like on tour with them and whatnot, but like how do those moments always go off so well?
You know, a friend of mine said something interesting to me the other weekend, and it rings true with me. I think VJs in some ways we know just about music just as much as the DJs do. We know what sounds good and we know what music slaps, and we know how to listen. We learn how to listen to music. And so as you learn how to listen to music, and you hear everything as a VJ, you hear everything in every spectrum. You do really weird sets of like weird bands and stuff that you're just like, okay, I'll do it. So yeah, I definitely think it definitely comes with experience, but it's also just being really able to listen and being able to understand your system enough and program your system enough so you're able to like achieve like greater levels of excitement with what you're doing, you know, such as like adding effects or like taking things away and just like bam on the beat.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I definitely value more than anything, because getting on the beat is one of the easiest ways to make people go like, wow. Yeah. So yeah, and to your other point, I definitely appreciate the love of just the, you know, your recognition of what's going on. You know, I think quarantine and all of these live streams have really given new light to the art form and what it is that the other artists also do. And just it's really cool to just for people to kind of be seeing that, and also just like finding new artists to appreciate and just realizing that like we can make music so much better. Like we can make music like flourish in like this new way.
Yeah,
totally.
Not necessarily a new way, but in this way where like now people are more recognizing and appreciative
totally
of it.
Like nowadays when you see like a virtual event flyer, there's like a section with artists and there's a section with visual artists.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Yeah, like
so
you
great.
guys definitely haven't gotten enough shine in the past.
we have a joke in the VJ community where it's like, but are you on the flyer though? Because they would never do that. It did not happen very often. So it's like, oh, are you on the flyer though? Did you make it on the flyer?
That's funny. It's cool to see though how nowadays, like, as the people and less of like the corporations and stuff are dictating what's cool with music, and like the underground scene is growing. Like, I feel a lot more people, that are just as deserving of the credit are finally seeing it now. Like, I feel like there's a huge shift even like in the hip hop community where like producers are being credited where that didn't happen. And now in the EDM community, like VJs are actually being recognized. So it's cool to see that like people are connecting more on that personal level and like recognizing that all of this goes into creating this full experience. And like, as cool as bass music is and as much as we all love it, like it just would not be the experience that everybody comes out or used to come out to see, I guess, without that aspect of it. So yeah, that's funny. There is one interesting question I saw here in the chat from Blue. Shout out to you, Blue. He's asking, do VJs ever practice quote unquote jamming to DJ sets? So like, do you ever like pull up, a old set from somebody and just like mess around to it? Or do you do all of your experimentation kind of just like in your zone?
I definitely do. Especially if it's a big set that I'm like really nervous about, that I'm really trying to like really nail. It's not like always a traditional method of practice. Because for me, a lot of it, they say like every preparation is everything. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So for me, I'll put on a set and I'm listening to like an artist. I'll listen to bunch of artist music or a really long set. And that's what I almost kind of use to prepare. And then as like I've prepared some things, I'm like, okay, does this work? And then I start practicing. And then I'm like, okay, this works, or this flows well together, or it doesn't look the way I want it to. And that's kind of actually a bit of a shorter process. And then I kind of just do the rest of my prepping. It really depends on what I'm using. Some more intricate softwares require just like more testing and more development to make sure that they work. Because sometimes things just don't work, and it's like, why do they not work? And you're like, I don't know.
Good old technology.
Yeah, definitely learning. With the new job too, it's really about just like we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying new things and learning new things, and it's like definitely a change of mindset of like, oh no, it's broken. Oh no, to like, okay, it's broken. Like I get to figure out how to fix it. That's so great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
that gratitude mindset. Spinning it positive. I love that. Blue has another related question. Like, do you usually talk to the DJ about the performance beforehand? Like, what's that pre-discussion like? And does that vary?
Yeah. It depends on who the artist is and kind of my ongoing connection or relationship to them. If I can reach out, I always do. If it's for someone I'm VJing for more often, I might be in a lot more communication with them. Oftentimes you just don't, which is why I value listening to the music before and kind of having that practice and preparation time. Many times you don't, especially if you're just getting started or you're VJing at like a smaller festival and it's a lot of artists and people you don't know. Oftentimes you don't. So that's where your side preparation will come into play. When I do talk to an artist, I mean, the first thing I always ask is what I would ask anyone is just, what do you want? What kind of things do you want? Many artists know, even if it's just like black and white with red and make it look scary. And I'm just like, okay. Or they'll tell you colors or elements. It's always good to ask for logos. Many people want their logos to be seen. So it's always a good idea to ask for logos.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like as a fan, just showing up to a stage and being like, "Who's this?" People are like, "I don't know, it's Jeff." And then the logo flashes. Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, I've heard that name.
Right, exactly.
Yes, now I know who I'm listening to. That's key.
If you can't find a logo, oftentimes you can Google it, or it'll be on someone's website, and you just PNG it make it into a PNG.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Indeed. Yeah, that preparation, I like that answer, just making sure that you do what you can and recognizing that that's going to be different in every situation, and gotta just kind of roll with it. If they're willing to give you all the info and answers right up front, sweet. If not, go figure it out. Like, listen to their music beforehand, steal their logo off their website, and then they'll be like, oh man, you really went the extra mile for me. Thank you.
I think that's what like makes the difference, right? Is just showing up prepared and doing little things like that. It just helps you be better.
Absolutely.
And like for me, it's like I want to give whatever producer I'm playing for, I want to give them a good show. I want them to see videos at the end and be like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. Who VJ'd that show? I need to contract her for some other stuff.
They're so cool. Whoa.
Yeah. So we have another question in the chat here, a little bit more on the specifics of Touchdesigner.
Oh, totally.
And details on how you're using that software. Like, are you using the generative design capabilities, and what your projection mapping setup looks like?
Follow-up question: what does any of that mean?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Touchdesigner is a node-based generative software, and it's also a data-driven software. So you can take data from literally anything and turn it into literally anything and export it to literally anything. So Touchdesigner is really great for audio reactivity. You can connect it to Ableton, which is actually what deadmau5 does a lot of. You can build triggers. You can actually do like basic sound design too, if you would really want to. In Touchdesigner, you can like generate sine waves and LFOs and things like that. So for me, but I use it a lot to make generative art and just art with code and scripts and shaders, getting into some of that. And so I'm actually rebuilding my VJing and that right now, and I'm going to be using it as kind of a master inputter, and then I can affect it in a lot of ways I wouldn't be able to in Resolume or Synesthesia. And eventually just start building out big systems, because it's really good for doing that. It's a derivative system, so you can make like a node and then you go inside the node, then you make another node, you go inside of it. So it's just it becomes like this big network of like an idea versus like more of like a step-by-step process.
Sweet.
For outputting, I do not projection map with Touchdesigner. I'm still putting it into Resolume and outputting it that way. It is possible to do it through Touchdesigner. It's a bit difficult. So that's not something I have done yet. We're currently looking for ways we can do that, because that would be nice to do.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly complex and fascinating. And
lots of VJ words.
To be honest,
lots of visual words.
100% understand all of that. But side note, the person that asked that question said the projection mapping of the Bell building on your website is fantastic.
Oh,
kudos
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aethershift. Shouts out to Aethershift.
Resolume and MadMapper. I did that with my good friend and mentor Gabriel Hall, and that was actually like a community project for a community action group, and they did a big photography activity with people in the community, and so that was what we did for the majority of the event. Then we put art pieces, we sandwiched them on the sides of the presentation. So thank you very much.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm curious, because you have quite the portfolio of stuff you've done. I was curious, like, was there a thing or two that really stuck out to you as like a solid memory on this journey so far?
Totally. Oh my goodness. There's many things that I've done. I would say that it kind of is beginning to be split into music related things and then non-music related things, into more corporate things and projects and clients of that nature. As for something that was more corporate, the building was really amazing. Just mapping your first building, even contributing to it, making content for it was really cool. That was a big step in just scale of doing something. And that's one fun thing about visual art, I guess, is you can, if you know how, you can make it really physically big, which is cool. You walk up to, it's huge. I've also we did a small job for Audi at New D Media Arts using Touchdesigner, which was very fun. And as for like music things, honestly, 2020 became so much more of a blessing than I ever thought it would. Getting to work with the dojo and ill.Gates has been an incredible blessing. I got to VJ at a festival called Revibe Wellness Retreat, which was at a hotel festival in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it was really fantastic just being able to like bring it back even for a weekend. The music things just kind of pile up because they're so meaningful to me personally.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, that culture.
I'm curious, how was movement? I grew up like just across the river there from Detroit, and I would always hear good things. Never got a chance to go because I was always in school. And I can imagine being involved was like quite the experience because everybody that would go could not stop like talking about it.
Movement is great. For people who don't know, Movement is a techno festival in Detroit on Memorial Day every year. And it really, I love Movement partially because of the culture. And Detroit is one of the famed city for creating techno music. And so there's all of this like really deep culture that really comes alive. We call it Techno Christmas. And so we have like a 35,000 person festival in the middle of downtown Detroit. And it's really fun. I say Movement is a festival that's all about the music. There's no art cars and there's no like magical forest. It's like concrete and music and that's it. And it's just it's so much fun because that's it. And it's allowed the visual artists who play there to really shine, really make it something more. Because oftentimes even techno artists don't always want visuals. They want just lights. They like keeping it simple and making it really about the music. So finding ways to exemplify your art like that has just been, it's great. And I love Movement. We're fingers crossed for late 2021, I think. But yeah, everyone wears black and dances to techno.
It's perfect. Everyone that I've ever spoken to that's gone to that festival has always said very, very good things. And that's such a tight-knit community. Like everyone that is there for Movement like knows what they're going to see and is like very well informed on all of that music and culture. And so you get a very like-minded group of people that know how high quality the experience they're getting is. And it's no surprise to me that that's a success.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to like experience Detroit. You get to see so many things that if you're not from Michigan, if you're not from the city, if you don't have more of a connection to it, a lot of people just don't know how much music and art and culture goes on in Detroit right now. And getting to see all of the small parties and all of our venues, and it's just the city really comes to life, and it's a great way to kick off summer at the start of Detroit, and it's great.
Yeah.
You should all come to Movement. I will definitely be there. If you like techno music.
I got to make it out there at some point. Yeah. I love all the work they've done to Detroit too. Like I feel like that bad rep has kind of stuck with it, but they've really like put a lot into the city.
Yeah, the company who runs Movement, Pax How, has really taken it upon themselves to be like a cultural connoisseur. They just really want to exemplify the music and all of the amazing artists that are there, that have been there, some of that have been there for like 20, 30 years. So it was a really great place to begin and just meet people and just like find a way to better myself with that music.
Totally.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to transition a little bit into talking about both your new gig in Vegas and telling us a little bit about that, and then using that as a segue to kind of talk about where you see the field of visual arts going in the future. Because for me personally, I feel like that is one of the areas of performance that through this pandemic has definitely been leveled up. And that in the future will continue to only get like exponentially more next level. So if you could talk to that a little bit as well.
Yeah. So you want to know more about the gig now and then where I see things
so just
going,
like,
right?
you know, what you're working on now, what excites you now, and what you see in the future coming up.
Sure. So I recently started an internship with a Las Vegas-based company known as Extended Reality Group. We based out in Vegas. We're a lot more in the events, and we're a big animation company and we did visuals and we did creative technology and we did animation and all of these things. As the pandemic happened, realizing how everything had to change and everything was changing, they shifted their focus to something that's known as virtual production. And if anyone likes The Mandalorian in the chat, they might know what virtual production is. It's kind of like advanced green screening. It's really made its way into the movie industry and like corporate filming industries. And it's using LED walls all around, and you'll have a floor and you'll have a ceiling. And then you use 3D camera tracking technology and then environments made in Unreal Engine, which makes a lot of video games, to move through the scene. And then because you have the 3D camera tracking technology, the environment moves in perfect perspective with the camera. So it sees it how our eyes would see it. And so we're able to put subjects, people, like cars for commercials, things of that nature into these virtual environments, but you're really just in a warehouse with big LED wall. And we're able to do a lot of like virtual concerts and things of that nature too. So we've done some virtual events, award shows, commercial shooting. So it's really taking it to a new level, and people are starting to see just the power that's in it, being able to have that kind of control over your set and what you're doing, and just taking it to the next level. And that's been really great. And so I'm very excited to just start. I've wanted this for a long time, and I'm really taking things to the next level. And having the opportunity it's been such a blessing in the way of, sometimes we just need to make changes in life. And having the ability to have new opportunities and learn new things, it was like, for me, it was the realization of, oh, I can do these new things and I can do these things that I thought were really hard. And like, sometimes you think I'm not good enough, or it's not for me. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. But then when you have different opportunities presented to you and you realize, oh, okay, I just needed these new things and I can do these things and I can learn these things. And so it's an insane amount of growth and new experience for me. But it's a really great company, and we're set to do a lot of big things in the coming months, year, just bigger and bigger productions.
Yeah, I would have to assume that is, like I said, it's going to be a huge growth industry very soon, if not already. Being that you are in the trenches of that growth, what do you see on the horizon for technology that's going to influence music events in the near future and maybe distant future?
Yeah, virtual events and things of that nature are definitely here to stay for a while. But even as live in-person things come back, the technology isn't going to go away, especially with things like broadcast and other things like that, like people who just see it on the TV. A lot of, like, if anyone knows what augmented reality is, AR, like if you see a football game and there's like a little like logo that pops up and swirls like right on top of the guy's head, like that's AR and camera tracking. So it's really, taking it to new heights. It's extended reality. We're kind of bending the rules in a way, and everything is still kind of happening, but we're extending it and bending it. And so I really think it's really gonna have a lot of revolution in also on-site live production and techniques and how we make shows happen, how we've learned all of these things about what can be done and better ways to do things. So I think you'll see a lot of changes to fronts of house and things like that. You'll see a lot of things of virtual experiences. We just did a project with VR And so just being able to put people into spaces that you might not have been able to before, and also just like making everything run better and smoother with these big technologies. It's like, you got to make it has to work. So yeah.
We were just talking with Nard on the podcast about the potential of having like a VR festival where anyone at home with a VR headset could buy a ticket and attend. And if that setup would really even scratch the itch of a live festival. But something that you mentioned that I feel like is definitely going to be a big step forward for the music industry is having a live in-person festival that can simultaneously be broadcast all across the world and sell tickets for both, right? This in my head, the model makes a ton of sense to bring a lot more value back to an industry, which it's going to be a long time before you see 50,000 people shoulder to shoulder again, right? And so in an environment where you can sell less tickets, being able to sell those tickets to the people that want to be there, and to everyone else, figuring out some sort of way to, with that camera technology you were just talking about, have it so you can make an immersive experience for someone at home and be able to actually sell tickets for both. I feel like that is, definitely the way forward. How far of a stretch is that with the technology that you're seeing right now?
Like, I would say like 2 years at the most. It kind of can already be done.
Yeah.
Some of this technology, a lot of this technology, it's already been used with things like Unreal Engine has been used to design video games for like forever. But it's been it was kind of a transition almost in a way of like necessity and adaption. And people have started learning, oh, wow, there's this whole new form of creating something. And I would say if we can't already do it, we're going to do it within like the next 18 months, 2 years as an industry. They're already using these kinds of processes to put fake fans into empty sports game stadiums because they can't have fans in stadiums. They're already, they're already using it to have virtual award shows and shoot commercials. And I wouldn't put it past anyone who really wanted to make it happen. Like, if we can't do it already, we're going to do it very soon.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah.
What would that setup like really require on the end of a festival? Would it be like the LED walls on 3 sides like we're talking about, and then like the crowd could see them from one side? Or
I guess if people wanted to like beam into the VR and watch it, experience it, I feel like it could kind of be like what Burning Man did this past year, where it was like you could beam into like a virtual environment and like walk around and kind of like have a character but be able to like see it. Or and then there would be like some kind of like camera setup, and then there'd be like a stream in kind of from the real world into the VR. Or you would have maybe a roped off area where there were like 360 cameras or something. And then like, that's what people would kind of beam into looking at the festival.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to like walk around as much, but it would kind of be like a silent disco for someone, I guess. I guess that's what I'm kind of imagining it. If you had like a VR, like you put on a VR and you went to a concert, I feel like it would just be silent disco in everyone's houses, which would be really fun.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of your friends.
I hadn't thought of
the disco.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about the concept of like a full on, like if it was, say you had like the ability to beam into a certain person's set and like get the full immersive like visual experience, being also to be like turn around to your friends that are like in the virtual festival as well and like talk to them, and then like walk to the other stages and like see all the trippy stuff in between stages. Like that would be like ridiculously next level. I don't know how possible that is, but
I don't really know right now either.
Yeah,
I don't know
you just talking about that.
But I'm sure we're gonna figure it out sooner or later. But let's hope that real events come back before that.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Just fingers crossed. But we don't know like what 2 months is going to be like from now in a lot of ways. So I feel I haven't given up hope yet for maybe late 2021. So we'll see. But, music is never going to die, right? And our desire to do things like that. So I have complete faith we will see it again.
Hey, I was curious, do you do much work with like music videos and that kind of stuff?
I do actually. I have been slowing down a lot just because of the changes that's going on in my life with this new opportunity. But yes, I've made some music videos for ill.Gates. I've made many a music video for UHNK, who's another dojo extraordinaire.
Yes, we've seen.
And I've made a music video for Kiva. So I've had several really great clients. It has been a while. It's something I'm kind of putting on a back burner for now, but it is something I really enjoy doing. I think for me, so much time and dedication goes into a music video.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
The first thing I saw from you, besides what we did for the summit, was UHNK showed us a video that you guys did, which I thought was fantastic. And I was wondering, like, for that process, when you're doing a music video versus like a live show, do you do a bit more planning beforehand, or do you go in and kind of have like a jam sesh where you just generate a bunch of stuff and then you splice that together? Or like, how does that differ from this kind of work that you're doing now?
I think there are a lot of similarities to like making a song. It's like you go in with like pieces and elements, and then you affect them. You put them in orders and you develop a structure. And for some music videos, I'll actually take the elements I know I'm using, like especially for drops, and I'll record myself VJing, and I'll do that like a few times until I like it, and then I'm cutting those together, because you get a more mixed, intense look. But it really depends. Like for Trapezoid, I actually didn't do that, and I was just sequencing things. Same thing for HC Johnson, the music video I've most recently made with UHNK. That was all sequenced, and I made animations and I brought them in and I sequenced them because it was so fast. Like 178 is not a joke. It's not. Yeah. Other times I'll record myself and do it that way. So I guess it's similar to what you guys do when you make a song. Making a song, it's harder. But, yeah,
no lie. I've I used to think I couldn't do anything with video, and granted, what you do with video is definitely way cooler than what I do with video so far. But once I actually got into like cutting and editing video, I realized like, oh, what I've been doing is already kind of harder than what I am trying to do. And then that kind of touches back on something you mentioned earlier about like those limiting self-beliefs that you got over, where you was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could do that. And then you step into the space and find out, oh, like I totally have the capacity for this. And not only that, I can shine here if I dedicate myself to it. And that's such a beautiful realization that then you can take forward into more and more endeavors. Because if you had the power to do A, B, and C, well, shoot, like why not give D a crack? let's go.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next one.
I thank you. I think so too. It's like stepping into such a big life change. It's a big life change, but it's you realize you learn, and it's like a creative process almost. You're constantly creating yourself and things, and you learn way more than you ever thought you would about everything around you. Just can't stop, won't stop. I think it's about, and you always look back on it, and it's like that great feeling of learning things when you like look back and you're like, I know how to do this now. I know this little like shortcut right here. Tight.
Yeah.
So another shortcut. Feel even better. You're like, I got this. Tight.
Yeah, totally. There's a self-confidence there where it's just like you can see that progress every day getting better. And you kind of touched on this earlier too, where it's like it's almost this identity shift where once you fall into it, you realize that it's not really this like big scary thing. It's just a bunch of little things that are quite easy. And once you learn them together and piece them together, you know, like,
Yeah.
and not to phrase it in a way to discredit by any means, but like
Not all
doing
of it
a
is
set movement is like not that big of a deal once you've like picked up all of those little steps along the way. It's not as daunting as you would imagine, like getting into it prior, for example.
Yeah, and like I really enjoyed this new internship and things, and instead of you have to learn like this like open-ended thing, it's like I'm being onboarded to a process of how we do things, and that's been really cool too, like kind of like learning how to do one thing that becomes a tool versus like learning how to do the entire thing. And just as you learning it, kind of like squishing it down to a process, it helps you kind of become more expansive later on. And so that's been really nice to have like that direction.
That's exactly what we talk about all the time about music production. Is like, yeah, I know it seems like that producer is doing this crazy, amazing, insane stuff, but really, if you take a couple of steps back, you'll see that everybody's working with a set of tools that we all have access to for the most part, with sets of processes that we can replicate and put our ideas into that process. And once you know the process and know that you can replicate the process, then all of a sudden your world opens up.
Yeah. 100%. It's like as you start to learn the building blocks and you build the system, like you build the rack to essentially automate that one thing that used to take you an hour to do. And now that rack does it in 15 seconds with the turn of one knob. You're like, okay, sick. Like I can do that really quick. And then the rest of these pieces to like add these layers of depth and detail start coming together quicker and quicker. It frees up that bandwidth when you're making the song or the visuals to then take that piece that used to take you an hour, now it took you 15 seconds. Now you can take that 59 minutes and 45 seconds extra to make that new level of detail and like really get in the weeds on that extra oomph that you can put into that sound or that scene, right? And like that's how multiple layers of that process is how you finally get to something where the beginner goes, I have no fucking idea how I would do that. I can't even grasp step one. Like it doesn't happen from like step 0 to step 100. It's like there's a lot of stuff in between there that you've like built up and then layered on, and so that's really where like if you ever get a chance to step back on the art that you're making, whether it be music or visuals, it's very rare that you actually get to step back and take an objective look on what you're doing. At least for me, you're always so critical on like what you're making, and like it's never ever good enough for yourself. But like if you ever do get those rare moments where you get to like objectively look back, you're like, oh wow, like yeah, I have come pretty far in this period of time. Like yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, you get a chance to appreciate all of that effort that you put in. For yourself, like what have been like the pivotal like moments of like progress in your journey of creating visuals that you can look back on?
I think there were a few really great moments actually in 2020 again with the streams. I got to VJ for Broken Note, which was
sick,
really amazing. It was such an intense experience, and I was able to did it, and I got to work with him and figure out really what someone like that wanted. Also VJing for Sensei ill.Gates, just having that fun. I remember telling him in like May with the summit, he was like, I'm gonna do my own set, and I was like, one day, Dylan. and it happened.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to connect in that way, and I'm really grateful for all of those moments I got to that and connect with him. And also I would say Revibe again. It was a lot of we had like 14 VJ team come together, and then we made a festival happen. And yeah, it was definitely the biggest bass music festival I'd ever played to date, and it was really cool to just go out there and crush it, especially for artists that I had been playing for a while. Not Low, I got to play for her, and it was really cool to just do it live after doing it on streams. So yeah, I guess in a way, just going bigger and better, and then also just seeing the impact I kind of have on the community and being able to share myself more. I think for me, that's been really, really moving to know that other people have great ideas and are inspired and excited by the things that I do. And yeah, just being able to make even like bigger ideas happen and have ways to express myself in bigger ways. I'm kind of somewhat of a maximalist. If I want to like get bigger at like with my art or my idea or my color or my sound, I'm like, we should do that. We should go bigger. We should have a bigger impact. We should make it more intense.
Yeah, I can definitely say, at least from an outsider's perspective, it seems like 2020 was a year where you yourself had definitely been making a exponentially bigger splash, and especially a lot of people at the dojo would have to agree, being able to see a lot of your work firsthand. Where do you see, do you have any big concepts for what you want to accomplish in the near future, or how are you going to take that maximalist approach and make things even bigger in the coming months?
Oh, well, I definitely learning as much as I can about these new processes with virtual production is something I really want to do. I'm a big doer, and I really value having my hands on technology and other things like that. And I love being on site, and I love doing things and working on things. So in one area of my goals is really being able to like evolve into this different, more expansive state of ways to be creative in terms of for my own personal creation and artwork and things like that. Really just a lot of content creation is something I really want to step into. I think I've really found my voice now and how to flow and perform and all of these things. And now it's with gaining all of these new tools and these new opportunities and all this knowledge, I want to just really start getting back into artwork in a way that I haven't before or haven't done in a long time, but also just finding the new stage for creating my own ideas in this new way. As for maybe further down the line, I want to learn how to DJ, and I want an audio visual project, and it's something I've wanted. It's like one of those other things I know I've wanted it for a long time. With all of the crazy things going on and changing and learning, it's one of those things. I'm gathering a lot of music right now. I'm gathering every song I think is absolutely dope. And I'm just adding it in and like setting my little cue points and stuff in Record Box. As for kind of more of the execution of that, just I feel like I'm waiting for the right time and the right moment, because when it comes and I can give it all of the attention it deserves, it's going to be the right time. It's going to be dope. And I'm just like being patient with myself and that, and like, because I feel like we all kind of hit a threshold where it's, you want to give something you learn like your full attention. And so when that time comes, which is definitely within the year, it's going to be dope. I'm excited to just do the other side of it.
Yeah, you've got the requisite skills. Like, you've got a good ear for music, and you know how to push buttons on time. That's most of the thing, really, when it comes down to it. And you just mentioned the other key part, setting good cue points. If you got those three things down, you can pull off a set.
Good.
You brought good music, you set good cue points, and you press the button at the right time. Boom. DJ set. You got it.
Good. Good. I'm really excited to learn just how to like play with samples a lot and just make something sound dope with like a voice going like, which everyone does, and it always sounds so cool. And or like dropping an acapella over something that's, I've done it a little bit, so I know enough of like fading in and out, and timing things right and using like a filter maybe to fade something out. But one of my upcoming purchases is going to be a much bigger mixer, and being able to have a lot more functionality, I think, will make learning a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta prepare for the CDJs, friends.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that you're already setting all your cue points in record box is the main thing. I started with Serato and then found out I'd be playing my sets on CDJs. I was like, shit, now I gotta reset all my cue points.
Oh no, are they all gone?
No, I mean it's just like different software. So it's like, all right, now I gotta get record box and copy paste my set, drag my set over there, and just set all the same cue points. Yeah, it's just a process. But
I feel like it's just like a constant like building of your library, because like right now I have a lot of music that sounds good, but only some of it sounds good together.
True.
So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, just get more music.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's kind of like building up those decks where it's like, all right, these 5 slides go together at least. And I feel like most people approach it the same way, where it's like, all right, I know these 5 bops go together, and like I could transition out like wherever I could play 2 or 3, but I know for sure if I brain fart during the middle of my set, like I got at least these 5 to come up with another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, ill.Gates talks about having those like chunks of music. Like he'll have like one of his hits, and he'll have like a group of like 5 or 8 songs around that he knows for sure, if I play this one, like this chunk of music in this little mini set will all go together, and I can kind of choose my own adventure through this until I figure out where the crowd wants me to go next.
That's a great idea. Thank you for the knowledge. Yeah, kind of like building a Good.
Yeah, you mentioned collecting quite a few bops over the last little while. I'd love to hear, some artists that you're inspired by lately as far as the music stuff.
I kind of have like a little mini wave, or the new wave step, whatever you want to call it. That's people have really been talking about that. I've really loved that music. So I really love Skeller and Juche, Enjoy, Why Though. So all of those artists, it's like a lot of synth wave, but it can get much faster and harder. And then it has a lot of like trap beats underneath and hip hop beats. So I kind of call it wave step because it's part like dubstep and then wave music. I'm not sure if that's correct, but
this is all new to me.
Yeah, me too.
What do you mean by wave music? What do you mean by wave music?
I guess kind of like using the more like synthy waves and maybe having some more like 80s inspiration.
Yeah, but, that's where my mind went.
The best place to start is what I tell everyone to listen to.
How do you spell that?
Skeller.
Typing into Spotify
it's like
right
Stellar,
now.
but like a Viking. Skeller.
I'm sure Skelly would appreciate that. Other than that, kind of like combing through I've been making a few folders on like SoundCloud for years and years and years of like, oh, this song is so good, crowd would love it. I've actually been I went through a phase recently where I just really made sure I was caught up to speed on the 2012 era of dubstep, because like everyone loves that. So like that's definitely gonna have some kind of a role, at least at first. Yeah.
And it's just old enough to be super nostalgic. Like it's hitting that 10-year come around next year. So right when venues open back up, people will be like, oh, remember that stuff that first got me into the culture? And there'll be the young kids new on the scene who have never heard it before. So it's all brand new. So it's, yeah. If it's
that's crazy to think about.
Old. If it's 10 years old, it's nostalgic. Yeah, I'm in. I would go to that set. I love that era.
It's all coming together, folks. It's all coming together. It's a multi-year process, but it's
please play me some Skrillex and Mode Step and Flux Pavilion. I want that. I'm there.
Hey, don't tell them half my set, bro.
I don't know if I'm going like that hard with it. With
wherever you want to go,
kind of stuff.
What are you thinking?
What am I thinking?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you get a little too on the floor with it, it's kind of a little too much. Kind of like I always think back to like, because now I can hear it and now I recognize it, that that weekly download that Dylan does, and it talks about like the patterning, or it's like
checkerboarding?
PVR.
Oh, PVRD.
Yeah, the phrase.
PVRD, yeah. And like, you know, with like some 2012 dubstep, you really hear it. It's really PVRD. And it's like there isn't as much like flow in it as you want there to be. So I kind of steer towards things that flow a little bit more, because, you know, sometimes you get like 3 bars and it sounds amazing, and then they just destroy it completely, and you're like, it just doesn't keep going. So yeah.
Yeah, too different at the end there. I see what
right,
you mean.
yeah.
Let it kind of stick and do something different, but don't go so far left that you're off the map.
That's like for like the fourth verse only or something, right? Here,
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I'm just gonna like pull up my SoundCloud or something. But yeah, I really just like finding, because sometimes I'll just like be like kind of thinking, and then I hear like I just think about 2 songs, and I'm just like, would that work together? Yeah, would work together. Yeah, and then I'm also just I think I'm really looking for a lot of, you know, music of the various different points in a set. I'm not just looking for bangers. I really love when I find a song that I know would be great for a build, or like layering 2 songs together for a build. You do that, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love finding, or like when you find a song that is kind of for that lull, where like you kind of make the crowd suddenly like go slow and like be all pensive and things.
Yeah, you're like, get a drink for this one. I got a good one coming up.
Yeah. It's kind of that little like hypnotic, just like sway state you put them in, right?
Yeah.
Before you go back up again. Yeah, just finding good things like that. Lots of good arpeggiators and like vocal things, chops.
Sweet. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of something I heard LS Dream say in an interview. Like, you know, just because people aren't like headbanging and going nuts and moshing doesn't mean they're not having an amazing time. Like them swaying and just like staring at what you're doing, or just watching your visuals and being entranced. Like that's all like completely valid and worthwhile part of a show. And if your show is all that and the audience is here for it, that's awesome too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I'm really like excited to explore just doing the multi-genre thing. And because for one example, there's a lot of like harder house music, even techno, that it slaps. It's so good, and it's fast enough that I'll listen to it and I'm like, I feel like I could drop this in a bass music set and it would work. So just exploring things like that and kind of transitioning in and out, I think is going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think festivals and like massives with multiple rooms and different genres are like really starting to condition people to enjoy going back and forth between more kinds of music. Because I know, like for me, you know, I really enjoy when a DJ gets creative with it. I know some people are playing like all original set and they've got a very specific set of things they do. Like they stick to a tempo and they stick to a genre, and that's dope. I admire that. But also, I really like it when somebody will like keep flipping it on me and be like, all right, now it's halftime. Now we're 4 on the floor. And now they did a spin back and dropped us at a totally different tempo and mood. And then they'll hit us with some old school jam you really didn't think was coming. And then all of a sudden we're at drum and bass. Like I dig that shit personally. So I'm here for it.
The first challenge for me is definitely, because I'm like, I want to do it and I'm still learning how to do it, but learning how to like mix dubs, like drum and bass into like a dubstep song without making it sound like you're going faster. So yeah, that's kind of where it starts, and then pulling other elements into it.
Yeah. And, you know, like sometimes either finding those tracks that just end with like a big impact and a downlifter and ring out and don't have like a long drum out. And then like that hits, and then you can do anything you want. You can switch tempos really easy there.
That's a good idea. Or like, so a lot of drum and bass, like they don't have like really rhythmic intros. They're more like pretty or just like musical in some way. So
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of good ways to switch tempo in a set. I like consistently, slowly raising the tempo as I go through a set. That's one of my favorite things to do. It's just like, ooh, and now we're 5 beats faster. Ooh, now we're 5 beats faster.
Yeah.
Like my last set I did started at 110 and ended at 174.
Tip my
And
hat
I
to
went
you
back and
for-
listened to it after, and it was like felt really consistent. Yeah, there's a good chunk in the middle where I hung out at 140 for a while, but
Yeah.
like, you know, I've got tracks I love all over the place, and like the vibe and the aesthetic of what I was going for in the set got to stay, you know, fairly consistent or at least coherent. But, you know, just slowly bumping up the tempo and finding good songs like, oh, that one just has that big whoosh out at the end. So that'll be my last one in the 140 set where I can get up to like 150 or whatever.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And on the CDJs, dub echo is your friend for those weird ones.
Good.
Yeah, hit
You could turn
the
any
6
song into
effects on the left side, hit that dub echo and spin it like 90 degrees to the left on whatever channel, and it'll like just make this ethereal grain wash. And then you could pretty much do whatever after that. It doesn't matter.
Oh, good. Yeah, I really want to get like a bigger controller just so I have a lot more things to play with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was doing mine on a very small controller, and I was definitely like, okay, I've got to like plan out which songs I need to do that on, because I actually don't have a really good dub echo on this little.
Yeah, most controllers don't have a dub echo that even is remotely similar to the one that's on a DJM 900, which is tough for me too. 'Cause I only have a controller to practice on as well. And the only reason I know that is because like I was playing like a back-to-back set with some friends at Q Nightclub back when I was up in Seattle, and like I watched him do it like twice for like these weird transitions he got away with, and I was like, huh. So I asked him about it later, and he's like, oh yeah, dub echo, it's the trick. If you got to switch between weird genres or weird BPMs. I was like, okay. And then I tried it and screwed it up horribly the first time. And then the second time went really good. And then after that, it was gravy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just don't let the music stop. That's the only mistake you can do. Even if you fuck up that dub echo, it's cool.
No, for real though, if
It's fun to dance to.
if you fuck up the dub echo and it goes completely silent, just like raise your hands for a little golf clap. When the room goes silent, I swear to God, people's instinct is to cheer. And that cheering can also fill the silence. Even if you train wrecked, don't look like you train wrecked and just press play on the other deck, no matter what song it is, as long as it's a different song. Hopefully you had a song loaded up already. But even in something that might have seemed like you train wrecked, people will still fill that silence because they feel awkward. And then you're chilling. For real, it's funny. It works.
These are the trade secrets that will save you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the beginner to intermediate DJ gold. And I'll tell you, like for me, like I kept meaning to kind of where you are, like had some decks. I was practicing a little bit. I wanted to get out there, and I knew I wanted to do some shows that I cared about. But what I did first that really helped me was I signed up to be on a show that I knew for a fact was going to be trash. I knew they weren't going to promote it well. I knew there was going to be almost nobody in attendance. And all I had to do was come up with a set and plug in and do whatever I did. And the beautiful thing was the people who were on before me set was so bad that I looked so good, even though it was clearly mediocre by any real standards. And so I was just like, okay, cool. Like I got to get that out of my system. I've been on a stage. I did a real set. I actually played a bunch of music.
Yeah.
I learned a bunch of shit in the process, and I like forced my hand to actually get out there in the world and do it. And then after that, I ended up having, I knew like later on I was going to have to open for ill.Gates. And I was like, I can't have these growing pains on the opening for ill.Gates set when he's sitting there in the audience, like watching what I'm doing. I've got to be at least vaguely experienced by the time I get there.
So you just played more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for that.
Let me get out there. I know this is going to be a bad show, so let me get on there. There's like the only people who I care about in the audience are the people who really care about me anyways. Like my parents were there, my girlfriend was there, a handful of my best friends.
Oh, that's so amazing.
And then all these random people that came to see these other acts that also weren't doing great. So it's all good. The bar was really low, and I just got to get the first time jitters out.
That's really nice when you have an opportunity to do that. In my younger days, I almost I sought experiences like that too. Like the second time I played Movement, I played this like party that didn't even have a good projector in it, and I was like VJing like under like a tent out with like my controller on like my lap, and like, but it got like those jitters out, and I was able to like test things out of like, okay, this works and this doesn't work, and I don't like this with this, and then I was able to go play for a big festival with like thousands of people and feel better about it. So like,
Exactly.
even if you just do that alone in your bedroom or something, that can be really helpful.
Yeah. Playing the side room a few times is actually not a bad thing. I remember the first time, I showed up to play the side room, and it was a set of non-Nexus CDJs, and I had only practiced on the ones that had like, basically when you press play, like it basically lines it up and you're pretty good to go already. But there was no beat matching or anything, and I was not super good at it. But at the end of that hour, the 15 people that were listening in the side room definitely knew I was learning on that shit. But it was a good learning experience. I never would have learned how to do that as well unless I got thrown into that situation. And Luke, side note, I didn't go to that one that sucked for you, but I was there when you opened for ill.Gates, and set was flawless, man. So obviously that practice worked.
Yeah, that funny story, that time opening for ill.Gates was my first time touching CDJs ever.
Good.
So I showed up for sound check, and luckily, shouts to Torbjorn, who was another opener on that set. He played right after me, and he was there for sound check and just like taught me basically how to work CDJs.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, shouts to Torbjorn. He was also the person that just had me on his Twitch stream that I had to do that last set I was mentioning for. So big ups to Torbjorn, friend of the dojo, and a good dude, DJ mentor. Yo, I just want to get to a couple of these questions that we've kind of left up the chat. Blue asks, do you sell pre-made visual videos by BPM maybe? And I want to like let you expand on that to how can folks work with you who might be watching or listening to this broadcast?
I have not gotten into a lot of packs yet. I think that's definitely down the road for me, as I find styles I like. Right now, I'm pretty limited, closed in my commissions. I've got a lot of things going on, and I don't like not being able to give people my full attention. But you can always send me an email. I'm sure you'll share my email, but my email is kelly@kellyfin.com if you want to talk or hit me up on Twitter and things. And we can definitely talk and exchange ideas, because I never want to leave an idea off the table or know what someone wants to do. Yeah, I think like with creating packs and things, I'm in this state. Another like good mental piece of growth I've had is like, it's like, oh, I don't need to like know what like my ultimate style is or my ultimate technique is. It's just, you make a lot of things and you'll have like phases, and or like make one row of your Instagram one thing, and then like the next row is like a whole new thing you learn how to do. So it's, I like the idea of having many different packs.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, shouts out to Blue. And then I had one other here from Shadow Gauge, asked a specific question about Resolume. Does it have a way to set up 3D mapping without having to fine tune every frame separately?
So with Resolume, I mean, it's not a frame by frame process. With Resolume, you're able to define shapes and things of that nature. And so you can do a lot of 3D mapping that way, such as Resolume is still, it's you can do a lot of things with it. I don't do a ton of projection mapping anymore, but you're definitely able to do tons of 3D mapping, projection mapping with Resolume. If they're really trying to do something more intricate, they can always try something called Mad Mapper. It's a bit more of an analog system, but Mad Mapper definitely lets you kind of go in and map everything pixel by pixel and make really weird shapes. So good question.
That's what's up. Looking through, I think we've got to all the major questions. You guys have any more major questions?
I would love to hear some of what you got on that SoundCloud if you ended up pulling it up there.
Sure,
yeah.
I'm very curious to dig into this new genre.
I've actually been this past week I've been on some like projects for work, pulling really long hours. And I've been listening to a lot of techno sets. Kind of gives me that like nostalgia feeling of home, and they're really good for like working too. Let's see here. I'm just gonna go into my likes. SoundCloud is kind of just like this historical recording of all of your likes.
Right.
So I've been listening to like Charlotte DeWitt and Amelie Lenz for some techno things. Got some Kalo in here. Really like Champagne Drip. Listening to, I recently discovered, I know he's been around forever, but I recently discovered the drum and bass DJ, aka 1200. Anyone knows who that is?
I don't. I'm gonna have to check it out by that reaction.
AK 1200. Yeah, he's really amazing, and he's like, so Enjoy is one of my favorite artists right now, who's in that like more wavy sound, ENJOII. Oh gosh, like it just goes all over the place, really. And music is so much fun, I guess. And then I like getting into my 2012 phase. I got some Cookie Monster, and I got really love At Dawn We Rage like a lot. Like his mastering engineer, like I hear it and I'm like, this guy's so good. He deserves an award. Maybe it's himself. I don't know who it is, but oh gosh, I got Pendulum in here. Classic. Yeah, it just kind of goes on and on and on. Juche, JUCHE, another really amazing wave artist. I really love his work. Yeah, just going and going. I love Pixel Fist. Anyone knows who Pixel Fist is?
No.
Quite a name.
Yeah.
It's a good
Tesco,
name.
I really expected you would know these. Me and Luke aren't up with these current hot boy trends, but
the current / historical substuff.
No, but like wave step and stuff. Like you were just telling, what was the one, color step or whatever you were telling us about last time, Nicola?
I don't know if I ever
color base.
Color base, yeah.
I said that? I don't think I said
No, not you.
We were chatting on it like an episode or two ago.
Last time we were live.
So many cool genres springing up now, and so many artists.
People ask me like, what's that kind of music do you listen to? And I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I don't even like what artists do you listen to? And I say, I don't really know. A lot of the artists I'll like or find on Spotify have like, or SoundCloud mostly have like 300 followers, but they're so amazing. And it's just, it's just, I love that like a really organic way to like discover music. But I recently just bought back into Spotify because sometimes I just want big long playlists that go on for hours. So
For sure.
they kind of they serve different functions in my life.
And honestly, Spotify's ability to serve you artists like the ones that you already like is relatively unmatched. For music discovery, if you're really diving in and liking and following artists that you enjoy, the ability to play an artist radio of a new artist that is in a genre that you enjoy, you're going to get a bunch of other stuff that's like it.
I get a lot of that on SoundCloud though. Like that's why like I was so like I don't need to pay for Spotify for like many years. For me, Spotify shuffling is really unmatched. It's almost like DJing. If it just like you play a song and then it just like goes off and it's like, okay, I'll play you other stuff. Like I'm pretty sure SoundCloud matches tempo and key and like rough genre of things. So you get a good flow of your shuffle. I always find good music when I do that.
Yeah. That's what's up. So
music.
Yeah, sounds like you got a lot of stuff you really enjoy listening to, and got an eclectic taste, and definitely we feel that all of us have very wide-ranging taste in music, and we think that's really like healthy and beneficial. If you really just want to hone in on a genre, salute to whoever that is, but
there's too much good music to do that.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Like all tastes are tastes, but I'm so happy that I became open to exploring house and techno music because like there's so much good music. It's just different, but there's so much good music that you don't want to like close yourself off from because it's not dubby or however you want to say it. It's there's just like because it's art and there's so many different kinds of art. Like one doesn't take away from the other.
I'd
There's
imagine visually too, it must be a good way to like break out of, established patterns that you've done. It's just like switching up the genre or something.
Oh, totally. Like, and it makes you just a better VJ, being able to go between things. And it's hard. Like, it is really hard if you're really used to one thing, learning the other thing. But yeah, it makes, I know it makes me better. It makes me and find that appreciation and knowledge of music more.
Amen.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks so much for being here. We really
thank you so much for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
This is a really fun conversation. I definitely learned a lot. Definitely some of the deep questions that are more video related chatters had went right over my head. But wow, like we covered a lot of really good stuff. I want you to, remind the people where they can find you, hit them with your socials, your website, let them know what's up.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. This was really, really fun. My name is Kelly Finn. You can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Art of Kelly Finn. My website is kellyfinn.com. And if you want to check out my newest adventure, you can go online to extendedrealitygroup.com and see some of the really cool things that we're doing out here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, humans and all of the Dojo Ninjas tuning in. We really appreciate all of you guys. Thanks so much, Kelly, for being here with us.
Thank you guys.
And signing off to everybody. Peace.
Peace.
And peace among worlds.
Do you do that every time?
Yes, we do. Even if you don't get it, we're going to do it to you.
Running gag.
Good night, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Love. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, bye. I like it. What an episode, humans. Thank you so much for being here with us. Remember to smash that subscribe, the like, the share, the comment, all that good stuff, because it really does help us get out to more people just like you who also want this dope producer content. Please support our sponsors. First, Dojo TV. Again, we recorded that live on Dojo TV. You heard we were taking questions from the audience. If you want us to take your questions, hop on Dojo TV and get into the free Discord chat. Second, guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake from the Approach Institute. He is the best engineer we know. He has engineered for everybody. Look up this dude's credits on his website, link down below. The first class with guest practices is free. Finally, Gvngaroo Records music distribution, where I put out all my music now. Unlimited uploads for under $10. That's a $9.99 lunch special, y'all, for all year of your music uploads. You won't find a better price, and it's from the good people at Bounce Gang, so you know it's got great service too. We really appreciate you for listening, for watching, for liking, subscribing, and sharing, and all that good stuff. Drop a comment below. We will see you next week. Peace, and peace among worlds.